Good evening, guys. It is December 17th, 2022. On this video here, I want to talk about just basically comparing the Kirby and the sanitaire. Now, I want to talk about some things. Now, this isn't particularly on performance. If you want my honest opinion on performance, um, I feel, now this is on carpet, but I feel that the sanitaire cleans a little bit better. But, but that's not the only thing that determines, you know, which is better over the other. Honestly, I think it depends on what you are looking for, what you need. The Kirby, in terms of like my experience with it, the Kirby is heavier than the sanitaire. They are both heavy in their own ways, but the Kirby is heavier. Now, that being said, there are some things. There's a whole slew of differences. Now, depending upon what you want in a vacuum cleaner, let's just look at that. And these aren't the only vacuum cleaners out there on the market that are good. I mean, there's a whole bunch that are good, just as good, and in some ways could be better. I mean, and vacuum cleaners are not a one size fits all. Like, that just is a fact. Um, you know, I think, especially in the vacuum community, I've seen so much, griping about, like, oh, well, sanitaires are the best. Well, Kirby's are the best. Well, Bissell's are the best. Well, Sharks are the best. Well, honestly, whatever you feel comfortable using is honestly the best. Now, I am going to be honest with you and tell you what I think is good and what I think is not so good. And it just comes from a repair aspect of things, a repair aspect, a reliability aspect, and a longevity aspect. Now, there are many, many, many differences between vacuum cleaners. If you have, like, let's say, mostly hard floors or all hard floors, you're most likely going to want to go with a straight suction canister vacuum cleaner because, to be honest, these machines are not going to really be as helpful for you. Although the Kirby can be because it's way more versatile, even if you have all hard floors. And I'm telling you, even if I had all hard floors in my house, I would still use my Kirbys. They're very versatile. You can use them straight suction with the power nozzle or straight suction with the hose and the wands and everything. But, it's not always practical for everybody. Now, one of the big differences, the Kirby and the sanitaire are like two of the most talked about in terms of comparison, and honestly, they're two different machines. I mean, they are both direct air machines. They both perform very, very, very well. They are both reliable. They are both easy to repair. But, personally, I think if you're going for an all-in-one machine, you don't want a second machine with another cord and everything, a Kirby is going to be better for you, especially if you're talking residential. Now, that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the sanitaire for residential use. Um, you know, I have 2 Kirbys and I have 1 sanitaire, so, it's just, there's pros and cons. Now, the Kirby is, like, very interestingly designed. Like, there's no handle release, you just tilt it back. Now, with the Kirby, there's differences. Now, the sanitaire is a lot more basic, not quite as feature-rich as the Kirbys. I mean, the Kirbys are honestly like the Cadillac of vacuum cleaners. They just are. They convert to a canister vacuum. They convert into a floor buffer. They convert into a carpet shampooer. They convert into a blower. They convert, so many different things that they can do. And they are advertised as a complete home care system, and that is absolutely true. They can even mop floors, believe it or not, the new ones. Come with a mopping system. Yeah, so sanitaire is pretty basic. Got your on-off switch here. Foot pedal release, which there's no foot pedal release on the Kirby. And your 6th position dial-in app, which is what it was called on the older ones. Now, you have to turn this by hand, which is not bad, but if you have not as strong fingers or hands, it can be a challenge to turn. It is for me at times, because, I have cerebral palsy, and even that can be hard, because, like, trying to grip and turn something with resistance is a challenge. Now, the Kirby, for the height adjustment, you press this pedal with your foot and lower it, and then you press the large pedal with your foot to raise the nozzle. Now, you always raise the nozzle when you turn it off. The Kirby is a little bit different in the way it's set up. Now, the Kirby also has a transmission in the back, which assists it in movement. The sanitaire does not. It just has wheels. Now, honestly, like, these more narrow, smaller sanitaires are honestly fairly easy to maneuver. I have found the Kirbys are just going to be a little nicer to work with because of that transmission. You put it in drive, and these wheels are controlled by this mechanism, which goes, when you push the handle forward, this whole handle mechanism goes forward to engage the back wheels to go forward, and when you pull it back, this whole handle assembly engages back to engage the wheels to go in reverse. So, and you put it in drive to get it to do that, only when it's on. When it's off, it needs to be in neutral, and the nozzle has to be raised to its highest setting. Now, the Kirby is about 23 to 25 pounds. It's got a carry handle here. It is heavy. The sanitaire, I would say, it's probably, I wouldn't say it's quite 20 pounds, but it is still heavy, but it is lighter than the Kirby. It's probably, and I'm just guesstimating here because I don't know for sure. I would say it's probably between 15 to 18 pounds or so, somewhere in that ballpark. So, but, the Kirby is all metal. I mean, these things are built like a freaking tank. I mean, it's just, they're built like tanks. I mean, they're just beasts. So, I mean, it's no wonder these Kirby's last so long, because they're just built with insane materials. Like all die-cast aluminum, just insane. Including this bottom part on these older models. Yes. It's insane. The sanitaire, it's got pretty solid, good plastic. So I'm not against plastic at all, because this is built very, very solid. It's the cheap plastic that I have a problem with. And this is not super cheap plastic. It's honestly built pretty well. And then it's got a steel hood, at least this one. And a steel handle, and everything like that. Now, there's a couple differences. Now, I will say that the bags on the Kirby's are easier to change because they connect to a fill tube, which twists on or off or unclips. And the sanitaires can do that too, if you get the ST bag set up. But the F&G setup is basically like, I personally don't like dealing with the F&G bags. Because like there is a fill tube that is part of the bag that clips on to a fill tube in the bottom, which is not the biggest deal in the world. Now these bags are massive. I mean, here's the bottom of the bag, and this dotted line here is the maximum fill line. Now, do you necessarily have to fill it up that full? No, but if you wanted to, you could. And that's like a good 75 to 80% of the bag. So that's good there. And at least on my unit, the zipper is more fussy. It doesn't like to zip as easily. You can't open it quite as wide as these, like this, where it zips down the side and you open it wide open. And the zipper is honestly much smoother on the Kirby. Now the Kirby is much more expensive than the sanitaire, by like several $100s if you're talking new. So honestly, I would hope that the Kirby is built better than the sanitaire. When you're talking that price, I mean, seriously. But that's not to say that the sanitaire is bad in any way. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Every vacuum that I have in my house serves a purpose. If I feel like it's serving a purpose in my house, I will keep it. If I don't feel like it's serving a purpose in my house, I will not. So, but yeah, so the bags for the Kirby are massive as well. They are insanely huge. So, I mean, honestly, if you vacuum like weekly and you have like a family of 4 and some pets, let's say, just as an average, you're honestly gonna get probably a good, 4 to 6 months out of a bag before you have to change it. And the bags for the Kirby comes in a pack of 6. Now the Eureka F&G bags, you can get them anywhere from a 3-pack all the way up to like a pack of 100 if you wanted to. Because, they're more on the commercial level now. So they're a little easier. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, you got this tube here that clamps on. And honestly, once you get used to it, it's not that big of a deal. At first it's a challenge, but once you've done it a few times, it becomes easier. But yeah. So that's that. Now, as for the belts, for both of them, the belts, here is the Kirby belts. Now, Kirby belts are like this white, it's got this kind of grooved pattern where it rides on the brush and the shaft. And the sanitaire belts, let me get it out here, plastic if we can, yeah, there we go. Are these round belts. Now, in terms of how the belts go on, honestly, the Kirby is going to be so much easier to work with. Because with the sanitaire, you have to stretch it onto the shaft and everything. I don't have enough space to really show you guys, I'm sorry, on the sanitaire. But basically you have to pull it with your hands, twist it, and get it on the shaft. Again, once you've done it for a long time, it's not hard. It's just, it takes practice and getting used to. Now, with the Kirby, the nozzle actually comes off. So you would have the nozzle raised. This is your belt lifter. You would rotate this until the red arrows line up. There's a hook in there that is grabbing that belt and pulling it up off of this shaft right here and stretching it up into the nozzle. And then you would rotate it back, take this plate off, pull the brush out, pull the belt off, put a new belt on, and then rotate it once again until the red arrows line up, so that way it's stretched in the nozzle there. And then you put the nozzle back on, lock it down, and then put the nozzle back on. Now, that's much easier because you have that belt lifter helping you. Because literally, you know, there is resistance, but you have this handle to assist you and give you more leverage. So, I mean, look how easily I can turn that. You know, and it's really quick. Now, obviously the Kirby is going to be more expensive than the sanitaire. Is it worth it? That's up to you. I mean, like I said, it's got all the attachments, all the conversions, all the things that you can do. The sanitaire is going to give you a 50-foot cord automatically. The Kirby is going to give you a 32-foot cord automatically, but you can opt to put a 50-foot cord on if you so choose. Now, in terms of repairs, some of the common things, cords on the Kirby's are much easier to change, generally speaking, because literally all you do is unhook it from the handle, pop this thing off, pull this out here, and from the side here, if I can show you, take this cover off, and it literally plugs into the side of the unit. So you pull it out, push a new one in, reroute it, screw that back in, hook it up, and you're good to go. On the sanitaire, you actually have to take the hood off. You have to push this grommet out, which is a huge pain. Let me tell you, I have done it once. I do not want to do it again if I don't have to. And then you have to like hook it up with wire nuts and stuff in here. Shove this in really hard, and it's a huge pain. However, you can, like, if you get a cord that is damaged on a sanitaire, you can actually cut this end off here, like cut it off to enough length to where you have some extra room, and then you can strip the wires, wire it in like this, and then your plug end will be like somewhere in here. And what you can do is take an extension cord, plug that in to it, and then just wrap the cord and use an extension cord. And if that cord gets damaged, you know, the extension cord, you just unplug it, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever, get a new extension cord, plug it in, and you're good to go. And honestly, if I ever need to do a cord again, that's probably what I'm going to do on this machine. But, you know. So, that's that. Now, the fans are easier to change on these sanitaires because literally most of them have like a cover for the fan. You just unscrew it, unscrew the fan, pull the fan out, put a new fan in, screw it back on, put the cover back on. With these Kirby's, it's a little bit more involved. Now, you've got the fan in here, like I said, which, you know, you'd have to take the top off, take all these screws out in here, pry this front cover off, and then replace the fan, Then you gotta clean up the edges of the cover and, you know, on the front of the fan housing. And then you have to re-silicone it and seal it to prevent dust from leaking. Then you put it in here once you got a nice bead of silicone. Slap it back in, and then you put all the screws back in. And then your cover on and everything. So that's more involved there. So both the Kirby and the sanitaire have their pros and their cons. You know, there's some good things about the Kirby and there's some bad things about the Kirby. There's some good things about the sanitaire and there's some bad things about the sanitaire. And honestly, I don't think bad is the right word, but you know what I mean. Like, there's some things that are easier on the Kirby than on the sanitaire. And then there are some things on the sanitaire that are easier than they are on the Kirby. So, there's just... But generally speaking, I mean, if you just want something that is going to be more functional in your house, in my honest opinion, I think a Kirby is a better choice. Now, if you're doing commercial cleaning, where you're cleaning a bunch of homes or you're cleaning some commercial facility, I think the sanitaire is honestly going to be better because it's just easier and faster to get into and get things done, and parts are honestly a little bit cheaper for a sanitaire than they are for a Kirby. And Kirby parts and sanitaire parts are about the same cost-wise, but the Kirby parts tend to be a little bit more. Just the slightest bit, but it's not enough to really make one significantly better over the other. It all comes down to personal preference. I mean, so I recommend both of them for individual reasons. It just depends on your situation. So, anyway, I hope this was informative. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.